Sometimes people get in trouble and go to jail, prison, the feds, etc. However, if you ever find yourself in that situation where you do have to do time, God forbid, there's two things you definitely don't want to be that will make your time and your sentence much harder for you. And I'm going to dive into that today. Alrighty, welcome back, y'all. So glad to be making another episode for you all. Another episode of Grow With Me, Sawyer P, where we grow together, not apart. And today we're going to talk about a subject, two very taboo things that you don't want to be while serving time in prison, two things that would be very bad for you if they apply to you and you do have to go away into a prison, a jail, the feds, any type of correctional facility here in the United States. And I would imagine it probably applies in other countries as well. Definitely Mexico, Canada, probably some of those places. Any men's prison, or most prisons I've ever heard of in the world, these two things are usually very frowned upon, very much so. But every prison has its own culture, so before I jump into those two things, I want to just take a moment and thank you all for watching this video, for watching my channel. Almost at 200 subscribers now. Thank you all so much. My watch time's going up. Once I hit about 4,000 viewing hours, like 4,000 hours worth of views from subscribers or non-subscribers, just anyone that watches my videos. Once I hit 4,000 and hit 1,000 subscribers, I can monetize my channel. So that's a huge goal, man, that I definitely want to do. I'm very excited to reach that goal, and keeping that goal in mind, it motivates me to continue pumping out content, stories, subtopics about prison, true crime, my experiences in life as an ex-con and ex-drug addict that used to kind of run wild. So some of these things are general knowledge. If you've done time, people know these things, but a lot of people haven't done time, and they're very curious about that world. So, before I jump into that real quick, I just want to take a moment to ask you all if you like these videos. If you like this type of content, please consider liking, subscribing, clicking the notification bell so you get updates of when I upload new videos. It'll drop a notification to you on your phone or tablet or whatever you use. Commenting on the video or sharing the video with other people. You can create a link and send it to people on, say, Facebook Messenger, Instagram. You can text it to people, email it to people, whatever. Anytime you do one of those things, the algorithm, YouTube has an algorithm in its software that detects these interactions with videos. And whenever it detects these, it shows that people are interested in your video. So whenever there's interest in your video, it shows that, hey, maybe this is decent content, and it promotes it. And it will show up in more people's feed on their page. Like-minded people that like this type of content, it will be suggested to them on their YouTube feed, when they open up their YouTube app. So any of those things, if you like this content, you support me, you want to help me, that's how you can help me. It takes just a moment to do it, and it's so beneficial. It helps me, and it motivates me to want to keep pumping out content for you all, and give you guys some entertainment value, some knowledge value, some experience value. And maybe you like to, when you're at work, listen to this stuff to help pass the time because it's interesting. So I hope that you guys find this stuff entertaining or find some type of value from it, whatever that may be. Even if it's just to help pass time on the clock while you're at work, or have an earbud in while you're working and help make your work day a little bit easier and pass by a little faster. So if I can provide any of those to y'all, it makes me super happy. It makes me feel good, and it makes me want to continue to do this for you guys. So if you could take a moment to do that, I would be eternally grateful, and I will return the favor by continuing making good videos to the best of my ability. So, With that being said, of course, we always got to cover that at the beginning of the video. I know it's probably boring, blah, 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 but it's kind of one of those things to help get yourself up and moving into the YouTube world as a content creator. So hopefully y'all can understand where I come from in saying that. And then maybe if you'd like, help me out in that regard. So today we're going to talk about 2 things you don't want to be if you have to serve time, or 2 things that are very taboo to be while serving time. 2 big no-nos. Big no-nos. There's a lot of things that can put you in bad situations in jail, but there's 2 particular ones that stand head and shoulders above the rest. That will make you a target, will put you in the danger zone, and you might not make it out alive, or if you do, you might not be the same person when you make it out, if you make it out. So take note of this and store it in your mental Rolodex or your mental filing cabinet, because God forbid anyone ever has to do time. I say make good decisions so you don't ever have to go there or experience these horrible things like of going to prison. But maybe you guys can learn something from this. So the 2 things, so the first one we're going to talk about, man, they're both, one is, I'm not sure which one I should cover first. The first one is snitching. Snitching, aka telling, aka writing statements on people, aka testifying on someone in their trial, or writing statements to help strengthen a case against them, giving information to police or correctional officers or any type of authority figure that's going to make it easier to prosecute them, being a tattletale in any way, shape, or form as a convict is a huge no-no. And the funny thing is, it's actually very common. It's kind of, they say, as part of the code of the streets, the code of ethics, if you want to say, as they say there's no loyalty among thieves, or no honor among thieves, but there are a few codes, especially if you're in like that gang life, or you're really about that street life, you're a gang member or a thug or whatever, like that's definitely a no-no. And even if you're not into the gang life, it's still a horrible look. And snitching, telling, ratting on people will put you in a horrible situation. It is definitely, of these 2, one of the worst things you can be. There's a lot of the time, you catch a case. A lot of people commit crimes together. It makes it a lot easier. Sorry, I just had a notification on my phone there. I was just seeing what it said. Say someone wants to do a bank robbery, hypothetically. They want to go rob a bank. A lot of the time, you're going to have more courage. You might feel like you'll have a better game plan. You might feel like you have more backing and be able to get away quicker or better, or execute it more properly with an extra brain involved to offer ideas, or to be the getaway driver, or to be a distraction or a decoy, or to to hurt the person. Say you're robbing someone, one can hold the person down while the other runs their pockets, whatever. So we'll just use a bank robbery just really quick as an example. Say me and Joe Schmo want to go rob a bank, hypothetically. We want to go into a bank, give the teller a note, and give the teller a note, no die packs, only $100 bills and 50s, and all of them, and no pressing the alarm button, no tipping off anyone, or locking the doors or anything of that nature. No one gets hurt. You know what I mean? That's kind of typical. They write a descriptive note, and whatever you put on that note, they have to follow it. They're trained to do that so that nobody gets hurt, and then they leave it to the police to kind of piece the puzzle together in the investigation and let the police do good police work and maybe catch the robber. But anyways, say I'm the guy that goes in with a note. If I have a helper, which if we ended up getting caught, that would be my co-defendant. Whenever you're charged for a crime, you are called a defendant in the courtroom. Like, say I did this in New York, it would be state of New York, which is the plaintiff, versus defendant SawyerPannell. Okay, so if, say we got caught for that, I would be a defendant, and the person that did the crime with me would be my co-defendant. Okay, so in this example, a good role for someone being a co-defendant might be sitting out front in the car with the car running, facing the road to where we could, pull off and just haul butt and get out of there as quickly as possible. Maybe get a bank that's right next to an interstate, so you can hop on the interstate or the highway and just boom, take off, and then a few miles down, hop off an exit, and then bob and weave and end up in some kind of back road area in the country. And at that point, maybe you've shook the cops. So my purpose would be the one going in, executing the robbery, while the purpose of my co-defendant would be to be the getaway driver. And we are both equally, usually, you're pretty much equally guilty. You're both going to be charged, even though they didn't go in and do the note and the robbery itself, they would be charged with robbery too, or very minimum complicity to robbery at minimum, but a lot of times they get charged with robbery as well, with the same crime I get charged with. So let's say we didn't get away. We take off down the road, we hop on the interstate, we take an exit, and there's a roadblock. They knew which way we were going, someone spotted and called the police and told them which way we were going, got our tag number, our license plate number, and they got a few steps ahead of us and beat us to the chase, and we got caught. So I'm going somewhere with this. I know this might seem like, what does this have to do with your subject of the two worst things to be? So I'm going somewhere with this. So we get caught, we get taken to the station, arrested, put in handcuffs, read our rights, taken to the station. I'm put in one room. My co-defendant, say his name's Johnny. Johnny's put in a separate room away from me. We're not allowed to talk, we're not allowed to interact with each other in any way. They totally separate us. They would interrogate or interview us separately. A lot of times it's the same detective, he just does it at separate times. Like, he might do me first, then him, or vice versa. And a big instance of snitching that happens is with your co-defendant. Let's just say I stayed solid. I didn't say nothing. I'll be like, I didn't know what you were talking about. I wasn't at that bank. I was at my mom's house, helping her do housework. That was my alibi, you know what I mean? Even though we're probably caught and they have tons of evidence on us, you never want to incriminate yourself and talk to the police. You always ask for a lawyer, always ask for a lawyer. The police will always make it seem like they're on your side, or if you talk to them, you're helping yourself, or whatever. But oftentimes they'll say, hey, tell us what your co-defendant did, and we'll give you less time and pin it on them. So they oftentimes make it very, very alluring to tell, So say I stayed solid and didn't tell, but my co-defendant, since he was the getaway driver, that seems a little less severe than going in. They'll be like, hey, listen, if you tell us everything and write a statement against Sawyer, if they tell Johnny, my co-defendant, my hypothetical co-defendant, if you write a statement, and maybe we're gonna have this interview in this room is it's being recorded, so everything's on camera that we're saying. If you give us some information about what happened, exactly what happened, without lying and the whole truth, nothing but the truth, we'll see if we can talk to the DA and the prosecuting attorney for the state and get you a good deal. Maybe only a county year or 2 years, or something like that. They usually can't make any promises, but they'll definitely tell you they'll help you when it comes to the sentencing side of things. And they'll tell you you're helping yourself. That's a lot of the time how they word it, because they've tried to get me to do this type of stuff before too, which, I couldn't bring myself to do that. I got to be able to sleep at night and have a conscience, and my reasoning was if I did the crime, I'm going to do the time and stay solid, and just, it's not right for me to push my screw-ups on someone else, you know what I mean? I was guilty, so you taking that risk. You're playing the game of getting caught. That's part of it. Sometimes you get away, sometimes you get caught. Not that I encourage that lifestyle or by any means, because it's not a good way to live. But it's I'm just simply saying, I wouldn't, I couldn't bring myself to do that if I was dead guilty. So, that investigator interviewing Johnny just offered him the deal of a lifetime. We'll talk to the DA. We'll see if we can get you under 5 years. Like I said, they usually can't make any promises, but a lot of the time, if you did testify and you stay a witness for the state, you'll get a great deal. You'll get a much better deal. They might give me 15, 10 years, depending on what state you're in. Here in the South, they're more serious about robberies than up north. Every state's a little different. Certain crimes they go a little harder on, depending on where you live and all that. They're harder on drugs down here too. Like New York, they're super tough on guns. Like firearms, they're really tough on. Down here, they're really light on guns. So it just depends where you're at, But that would be an instance of snitching. That would be being a rat. That would be violating the code. And if people found that out once you got behind the fence, bad things are going to happen to you. If you got paperwork, say I went to trial and lost, and a lot of time you can get your transcript when you go to trial, and it's got everything that was said. There's this court stenographer taking notes, or even if I took a plea deal, say I took a plea deal for 7 years, in your discovery packet, which is a packet that tells everything that the state has against you, all the evidence they have against you, so that you can prepare for trial or prepare a defense if you choose to go to trial or if you choose to try to fight the case. They have to give it to you if your lawyer requests it, especially if you're going to trial, so that you can mount and prepare a defense, that your legal team or lawyer can prepare that for you, So a lot of the time you get to prison and you still have, they can't take your legal work from you. Legally, they cannot, you're allowed to keep your legal work, because some people are filing appeals and different motions to try to get out or try to get a new trial and so on and so forth. So, once you get there, you got this paperwork, you can take that out to the yard. Say you're Cody, you show up to, let's say we're in New York, we show up to Wyoming Correctional Facility, and your co-defendant's there. They didn't separate you guys. For whatever reason, they didn't log it in the computer that there was a keep away, and I show up at Wyoming and he's there, and I take my paperwork out to the yard, or word gets out that he's a rat. It's not going to be good for him. It's not going to be good for him. He's probably going to get stomped out. He's going to get would a lot of people would expect me to do something to him, but if I couldn't get to him, he would automatically be hated, and someone would probably extort him, violate him in some way, hurt him, cut him, beat him up, jump him. No one wants to be around a rat, you know what I mean? Because people are in there doing illegal things still, even though they're in prison, and they don't want to be around someone they know might tell on them, There's people in there doing all kinds of stuff they shouldn't be, and that's their business. I'm not, teach their own, Some people go there and change. Some people continue to do things in there while they're there. So, teach their own. But, there's also other ways of telling. Say, for instance, in New York State, we can smoke cigarettes. And say, we're not supposed to smoke in the building, but people are smoking in the dorm, like when the CO leaves, or say someone rolls a little joint of K2 or weed, and smokes it in the bathroom real quick, or say someone snorts a line of diesel, which is heroin, or Suboxone, or whatever, a lot of the time there's guys in there, they're paying attention to everything, or if they see weapons being passed or made, they'll drop notes to this correctional officer. Some of them will just outright tell, and that's a huge no-no. That person is going to be dealt with and violated very quickly if it's found out that they told. Bad things are going to happen to them. And there's so many different ways. There's even something called dry snitching. I'll give you an example of dry snitching. Dry snitching would be like, say me and Joe are, say we're playing cards, say we're playing like Rummy. Say we're playing chess and it's getting kind of like competitive, and we're kind of competitively talking smack back and forth. Not super disrespectful, but he, says something I don't like, and I pretty much, I'm like, all right, bro, let's go to the bathroom then. Let's go to the bathroom. Like, let's fight about it. You know what I mean? Like, say it goes to that level. Things like that happen in jail all the time. People have a lot of pride and egos, and people who don't tolerate being disrespected, and it can escalate to that level very quickly if you're not careful. So, I call him out to the bath. Say I call him out to the bathroom. Like, all right, bro, let's go to the bathroom right now. Come on, you're a punk. Let's do this. And dry snitching would be like, yeah, bro, yeah, let's go to the bathroom. They start screaming at the top of their voice so that everyone can hear and see. And, it's they call it dry snitching because you're not actually going and telling on me that I'm about to, like, hit you or fight you. But by being very loud and you're trying to sound like a tough guy, but you're literally telling because the CO's right there sitting at the desk. He can obviously hear you if you're screaming at the top of your lungs. It's kind of like a weak move, you know what I mean? It's considered a weak move, and it's called dry snitching, because it's not like blatant snitching, it's like an indirect form of snitching, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways you can tell on people, be considered a rat, snitch, not solid, whatever, and go against the code. So, number one of those two things, you don't want to be a rat, snitch, tattletale, statement writer, a state witness, or a federal witness, any kind of witness in a case, or telling the correctional officers on people, or just any type of thing where you're telling authority on someone else to get them in trouble or to strengthen a case against them. That's a huge no-no. You're going to get violated and dealt with, period. If word gets out that you are a snitch. So, we're 21 minutes into the video. The second thing is sex offenders. You guessed it. Sex offenders. This one is just disgusting. You know what I mean? It's just disgusting. I think they're both bad, but this one, in my eyes, this one's even worse than a snitch, just because there's no justifying. I mean, there's nothing you can say about this that makes it okay. Nothing. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, you hear of like a murder trial where like a child was shot, or or a little baby was hurt, and I'm not saying that, it's a good thing to go tell, but like an innocent person was hurt, and someone testified against them. I can almost understand things like that, you know what I mean? I'm not necessarily endorsing it, but like you can kind of understand in some scenarios why people do it, but but please don't take that the wrong way as if I'm saying it's okay to tell and rat. It's best to mind your own business and stay out of stuff, you know what I mean? And if you get in trouble, just stay solid and just do your time. Just man up and do your time. Be a man. Take it on the chin and learn the lesson and get out and keep it moving and don't do it again, But a sex offender is a different kind of disgusting creature in my eyes and in most people's eyes. Anytime that you violate a innocent person, be it a woman or especially a child or a baby, there's nothing you can say, you know what I mean? Those people are very selfish, and there's a lot of damage internally and mentally, emotionally. They probably went through something that probably happened to them a lot of the time when they were young. And, there's an old saying that hurt people hurts people. Like, people that have been hurt people, So a lot of those people that become SEX offenders, they themselves were a victim at one point of one of those types of crimes, And whenever you do that to somebody, especially, like I said, it's not good to do it to a grown woman or a man. It can happen to a man too. It does happen to men too. It can happen to anybody. Anyone could get violated. I don't care how tough you are or whatever, People could knock you out or restrain you. I mean, I don't care how strong or tough you are. It could happen to anyone. It could happen to anybody. But it's especially worse when it happens to an innocent child. There's nothing that, it's never okay, but it's especially not okay when you steal a child's innocence. Children are supposed to be children. That's a time for them to grow, to learn, to play, to enjoy their childhood and learn their ABCs and learn how to walk and practice for being an adult. You see these toys where they got like fake vacuum cleaners and fake like plastic brooms and mops and stuff like that. That's like practice for them for being an adult. I feel like that's kind of like what playing is, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird the way we were designed. I believe in God, and these things were put in us for a reason. It's a fun way to prepare you for adulthood, And it's kind of cool if you really think about it. But anytime someone violates one of those people, it oftentimes changes the whole trajectory of their life. It changes the whole trajectory of their life because they went from being a happy-go-lucky kid, going to school, playing, going to the playground after, playing basketball, playing on the playing outside, kicking the ball with their friends, to being this traumatized, severely scarred, damaged child that oftentimes needs massive amounts of counseling and therapy. And a lot of time that doesn't help a whole lot. The damage has already been done, and a lot of people I know that became drug addicts, or women that became very promiscuous and got into, became the word whenever you exchange money for sex, starts with a P, prostitution. Like, I'm spelling stuff out because I don't know if, prostitution, I'll just say it, whatever. Women that get into that type of lifestyle or become drug addicts, become very promiscuous and are with a lot of partners, men, women, whatever. Usually something really bad happened to them in their childhood, and they don't know how to cope with it, and their whole view on sex is skewed, you know what I mean? It's just, it messes you up internally, and people deal with it in different ways. And some people are able to come back and go to therapy, and they might get into the gym, sometimes it can destroy your self-esteem and your worth, and it'll make you feel like you're worthless and all this stuff, from what I've been told this has never happened to me, but I've been told stories and have friends and stuff and that this has happened to, and I've heard a lot about it, and read about it and seen like documentaries and stuff about it. And some people come back from it, and they it was painful, traumatic, and it will always be a scar on their body and mind, soul, whatever. They're able to kind of go through some type of therapy, and they might get into working out. It might drive them to work harder on themselves and to not let that consume them and destroy their life, and take that dark path. In the way, a lot of people, they choose drugs because drugs kind of numb the pain, or alcohol, things of that nature. But anyways, some people are able to bounce back from it, others aren't. And so my point being is, when you do that to a child, you can change the whole trajectory of their entire life from a couple minutes, a minute, whatever, of a stupid, disgusting act that was done against them that is just disgusting and despicable, and there's no excuse for it. It's horrible and deplorable, and these people need to be in prison, you know what I mean? And some of them, it's not really my place to be God and say who deserves to live and die, but some of them you could almost understand if they were taken out of this earth completely, you know what I mean? Because some people are just despicable, and I don't think there's any rehabilitating them. And some hope, I think maybe some people would agree with me on that, or a lot of people would. But when these people touch down, a lot of people that have been in jail, they have family, they have kids, they have a wife. They themselves might have been a victim of, a lot of those guys go down the wrong path because, they were traumatized and they got into drugs. That might have happened to them. They got into drugs or whatever as a means to cope, you know what I mean? And that led to them getting into drugs, which led to crime, and they ended up in prison, So a lot of people despise sex offenders, hate them, absolutely hate their guts. And some facility, some places, they're protected if you attack one, and it can be proven that you attack them because they're a sex offender. Allegedly, you can be charged with a hate crime, they say. But like I know in California they have a SNY, which is like special needs yards. Certain prisons like only have like gang dropouts, people that were in gangs that dropped out, or like lots of sex offenders, or like transgender people and stuff like that. That's why it's called special needs, because it's for special types of inmates that have special circumstances. So, but if you're in a general population, especially if it's kind of a wild spot, there's a lot of violence, gangs, a lot of bad dudes in there that don't play. And if someone comes in with Cali, like a lot of them, they're killed. They don't even like beat them. They kill them. If like in the feds, I think a lot of it, certain states are like that more so than others. But like I know Cali, say you roll with the whites, like it's very segregated out there. Whites are with whites, blacks with blacks, Southsiders with Southsiders, Northsiders with Northsiders, etc., etc., etc. Asians with Asians, and blah blah blah. So say a white guy comes on the yard and he claims to be solid and wants to be a Peckerwood, but on his rap sheet from 10 years ago, he's got some type of sexual assault or something like that on his case, and people will find out. They expect you to bring your paperwork in, like your rap sheet and all that stuff. But some people find ways to kind of like hide their past, but it's just a matter of time before your past catches up to you. And a lot of those people, they're not just beat up or jumped, they are killed. Their life is taken from them because they are so hated and despised. Snitching, like the one I mentioned earlier, can get you killed and has gotten many, many people killed or hurting severely. That's why there's things like the witness protection program for the feds and stuff like that to protect these people. Because, people don't want to go to jail or get in trouble, so they're willing to take whoever out is trying to get them in trouble, And with sex offenders, people just despise them. They're disgusted by them. They don't want anything to do with them or to be around them or in their presence. And they will take it to the extreme to deal with these folks, And there's some spots that are, people are short. They ain't got much time. They're just trying to go home. They might leave them, like sex offenders alone. They'll just leave them alone. They'll just stay away from them. And that was kind of my thing. Like, I never had a life sentence or 50 years or anything where I was like looking at it, probably never coming home. My sentence was shorter, so if I caught wind that someone was a sex offender, I stayed away from them. If they tried talking to me, I'd say, "Don't talk to me. Get away. Stay away from me, dude. Just stay away." Like I'd set that boundary immediately, and that was usually the end of it. You know what I mean? But some people, like especially in Maxes, some of the USPs and Maxes in New York State, the USPs and the feds and stuff like that, places like California and so on. Those sex offenders and rats, they're dealt with promptly. They're dealt with. People, they ain't got nothing to lose, you know what I mean? And a lot of people, they're trying to earn stripes, so to speak, for their gang. The more work you put in, the more you work your way up the chain as far as power and authority in the gang and respect. You get more ranking, And if you put in work on like a sex offender or a snitch or a cop or something like that, you get huge points for that. Huge points, And the more violent you are, the better, Which is, I'm not promoting violence, but I'm just saying for those gangs and stuff, the more you take it to the extreme, the more fear you can put in people, the better, So those two types of people are going to be a target in the prison system, snitches and sex offenders. So God forbid anyone watching this hasn't done those things, they're bad decisions, period. They're really horrible decisions, you know what I mean? Never violate someone, especially, it's not okay to violate anyone, but especially an innocent soul, a child. And if you get in trouble, hold it down and, hold it down and do your time, you know what I mean? Hold it down and do your time. If Mr. Joe Johnson is a community watch guy that wants to keep his neighborhood clean and wants to keep crime and drugs and theft out of the neighborhood, that guy's not really, in my eyes, a snitch. He's just a do-gooder that wants to keep his community clean. But if you're someone actively engaged in the lifestyle of committing crime and you commit crime daily and all the time and it's part of your life, and then you go and tell Like, here on one hand, you're doing bad and trying to be sneaky and not get caught, but here on the other hand, you're telling on people to save your own skin and get out of trouble. You're a scumbag, you know what I'm saying? But, the guy that's protecting his community from crime and bad things and gangs and all this stuff, that's just part of the game, you know what I mean? That's just part of the game. I like to live my life in a clean way. I want to have a good reputation, but I'm just saying, if you do live a life of crime, be prepared to deal with people that want to keep their community clean, cops, stuff like that, community watch leaders and stuff like that. That's pretty much expected, and I think that's fair. That's fair that people want to keep their community clean. Hopefully that makes sense. So that Mr. Joe Johnson, community watch guy, in my eyes, he's not a snitch. He's just protecting his neighborhood. Whereas the guy that sold drugs to an undercover cop, and then he goes sets up his best friend on a drug deal. He has his friend sell him a bunch of pills, and he wore a wire and a camera. And the only reason why he did it is so he would get his case dropped or less of a lower sentence when he goes to court. That's a snitch. You know what I mean? So hopefully that makes sense. But I think I spent enough time on this video. Hopefully you guys get what I'm getting at. Those two things you don't want to be, you want to stay away from. Hope you guys like my shirt. I bought some new clothes today. I like this Puma shirt. Went to the gym earlier. Trying to keep staying right, you know what I mean? But I love you guys. Like I said, if you enjoy this type of content, please like, subscribe, click the notification bell, share, comment, engage with this video in some way, and that would help me so much. And I put all my socials and in the description of the video, and my Cashapp and Venmo. I'm not asking for handouts, but if you would like, awesome. Thank you so much if you choose to do that. But I love you all so much. I hope you have a great night, and we'll see you in the next video. And I love y'all. Take care. Peace.